Contrary to common belief, you do not need access to the gym in order to progress towards your goals of fat loss or muscle building. And depending on your starting point, you can make a drastic change over the next couple of months in order to prepare yourself for summer. So in today's video, I'm gonna break down exactly how you can get summer shredded from the comfort of your own home. And before we get into that, I want you to understand that every single person is gonna look different at certain body fat percentages. We all store body fat differently from person to person. So one person's 10% body fat is gonna look drastically different to another's. So you need to be keeping that in mind. You cannot be comparing yourself and what kind of body fat percentage you're at to someone else, because it's not gonna be a fair or just comparison. So with that out of the way, guys, let's hop into the first step. So the first thing you are going to want to do is to identify your exact current position. In order to set accurate goals, you need to have an accurate idea of exactly where you currently are. What I mean by that is you will at least need to have a general idea of what your current body fat percentage is, your physical capabilities, your height, weight, and everything else in between, guys. And the reason you need to understand those is because that is your starting point, and then you have to deduct exactly where you need to get to. So for an example, guys, let's say you're starting off at 200 pounds and you want to get down to 180 pounds. That is going to be a deduction of 20 pounds. So that is the target goal and the target weight loss. If you don't know the beginning and the end, you're never gonna get there in the first place. Now, there are many ways to go about measuring your body fat percentage, but a lot of them are highly inaccurate, and a better thing to do is just take a few photos of yourself and then guesstimate, and it will be in at least a rough range. Now that we have the starting point out the way, the second step is to go about decreasing your body fat percentage. So being quote unquote shredded is going to have a combination of two things. The first thing is gonna be an adequate amount of muscle mass, and then the second is going to be a low enough body fat percentage to actually show off said muscle mass. You need to have both parts of the equation. Let's say you have no muscle mass, very little body fat, you're gonna have a kind of skinny fat situation going on. You're gonna be lanky, skin and bones. Whereas if you have a lot of muscle and a lot of fat, that's not gonna be shredded. You're gonna have a lot of fat insulating and covering all the muscles, and there's not really gonna be any definition. So being quote unquote shredded is a healthy combination of both of those. A good amount of muscle mass, lean tissue, and then a low enough body fat percentage so that it is revealed. So for most of the cases, you will need to be decreasing your body fat percentage, and there's two main ways to go about doing that. The first and most easy situation is to create a calorie deficit, which essentially is an imbalance between the amount of calories you're consuming and the amount of calories that you're expending, therefore leading you to burning fat. The second and more long-term situation is to go about building muscle mass over time, therefore decreasing your body fat percentage based on how much weight you actually weigh. Let's say you are 200 pounds and then you add 10 pounds of lean muscle mass while keeping the body fat the exact same, then obviously your body fat percentage based on your weight is gonna decrease. So which path you need to go down is gonna be dependent on your starting point. So if you are someone who has not really exercised or trained before, and you find yourself at home now with a lot of extra time to put towards your physical capabilities in terms of working out, then you're in a very, very good standpoint, because you could have a good amount of progress in terms of muscle building and just overall physical performance benefits from doing a lot of home workouts. Doing push-ups, you're gonna have that good amount of stimulus and your chest will grow. Whereas if you are someone who has been training for a long time in the gym and now you find yourself at home without the same adequate amount of weight to add that resistance, then you're in a little bit more of a trickier situation. So if you are the former and you are a brand new beginner or someone who hasn't been training for that long, then I would recommend you starting to slowly increase the amount of calories that you're eating, going into a calorie surplus, and focusing on improving your performance over time, and as such, adding muscle mass to your frame. Whereas if you're the latter and you have been training for a longer period of time, then the best thing that you could do is incorporate a slight calorie deficit, therefore losing body fat, but then also keeping up as much as possible your strength and performance capabilities, because that is what is going to keep the current muscle mass that you have around. Once you've identified your current position and you've chosen which path you need to go down, either building muscle or burning fat, then you need to apply the third step, and that is to be consistent and persistent. Getting quote unquote shredded will require you to get underneath about 10% body fat. That is generally when people cross over the benchmark of lean to quote unquote shredded, and that is going to require a lot of patience and discipline to get towards. A lot of the time, getting under 10% body fat will seem like an impossible task for most people, and it definitely isn't an easy thing to go about doing. But right now, it's probably the best time to do so, because I guarantee you there's a lot less eating out. You're not having Chipotle, you're not having Chick-fil-A unless you're getting Uber Eats or whatever, but you're not going out to drink, you're not going out to parties, you're not really socializing all that much, and that allows you to be a little bit more disciplined with the foods you're eating. And if you approach this correctly, it can be a very easy and attainable thing, but you have to make the right choices in order to do so. Nevertheless, it is a difficult task and it will require some discipline on your part. So that is something you need to be prepared for. So in order to do that, guys, you need to be training and you need to be taking care of your nutrition. So the pathways that you go down are going to depend on your current starting point. But if you do need assistance with training at home, I will recommend you guys to check out my no equipment workouts up on my YouTube channel. There is plenty to choose from, guys, and they will be very, very accommodative in this current quarantine time that we find ourselves. So guys, if you do have any questions, be sure to leave them below. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and I hope you did find value in this. Just understand that it is up to you what you make of this current period in quarantine. Stay safe, guys. I hope you did enjoy the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Arigato, Mr. Bato.